All right, so let me frame my background for you as well as the content so you understand why I'm so passionate about this topic of the insider threat. First of all, I'm a United States Naval Academy graduate, class of 1992. From there, I went into the Marine Corps, and in the Marine Corps, I served at Cherry Point, North Carolina, Parris Island, South Carolina, where I learned fundamentals of solid leadership and also how I was really kind of not that great at it, and I had to learn a lot about how to inspire people and do what I'm going to be sharing with you all today, leading. Next, from the Marine Corps, I joined the FBI. I joined the FBI in 1997, and after new agent training in Quantico, Virginia, I was assigned to the New York field office. Once I was assigned to the New York field office in Manhattan, I was assigned to work in the world of counterintelligence. So my job for my entire career before I retired, over 21 years of working nothing but spy recruiting, espionage investigations, and overall protecting national security. And one of those aspects of protecting national security was protecting companies, corporations, and our national infrastructure against the insider threat. Whether these insiders are witting or unwitting, whether they're state-sponsored or internally motivated, it was all about preventing bad things from happening inside of companies, inside of corporations, organizations, as well as the government of the United States. So once I worked in the world of counterintelligence, I was fortunate enough that I got on what's called the behavioral analysis program for counterintelligence. Our program for counterintelligence that was behavioral based was basically coming up with strategies for all these myriads of different cases that were in the world of counterintelligence across the country. Whether they were double agent operations, false flag operations in furtherance of espionage investigations, espionage subject interview strategies, recruitment operations, all the hooky spooky spy stuff is what myself and my team strategize day in and day out. And part of these investigations that I was strategizing were centered largely apart around the insider threat, whether it was identifying the insider threat, whether it was creating interview strategies for someone that actually was an insider, and even creating strategies of observation to make sure that we actually don't have a problem here. So all these different things is where I'm going to be sharing my experiences with you. So from there, I was fortunate enough to get transferred to numerous different places. From New York City, I went to Norfolk, Virginia, where I worked counterintelligence down in Norfolk, Virginia. I then took a promotion. I went up to the FBI headquarters in the J. Edgar Hoover building in Washington, D.C. Again, working at headquarters in management, I was in charge of a national program for counterintelligence. Specifically me, it was Russians. And so from there, I was fortunate enough to get transferred again and go down to Quantico, Virginia, where I was an instructor for advanced training in the world of counterintelligence, in the world of espionage investigations, interview strategies, recruitment strategies, anything having to do with the world of counterintelligence as well as insider threat was my bailiwick of things that I trained at the advanced level beyond new agent training. Fortunately for myself down there, I also had the opportunity back in 2010 that I took over our behavioral analysis program as the chief of it for counterintelligence. So not only was I fortunate enough to be a team member strategizing these things, not only was I fortunate enough to be able to train and teach these things, besides work in my own investigations throughout my entire career, I got to take over the behavioral analysis program and I strategized this on a national level for case agents, field offices, and all the investigations across the country. So my optic on this is coming from both in the weeds at the lower level about how to strategize the conversations, dialogues, and prevent it, as well as a national level. What are we looking at, nationally to prevent these types of things from happening? I've looked at and was part of lots of research. One of these projects was based out of what's called the Behavioral Sciences Unit, where we interviewed hundreds and hundreds of defectors that were both insiders on our behalf that were working against their home countries as well as our own, whether it was Earl Pitts, Hansen, or any of the other spies on the other side. Is we had lots of research and data of interviewing these individuals, looking for motivations, looking for key behaviors, looking for what they might have looked like to other individuals to might have recognized them and mitigate them prior to that happening. And we came up with a strategy that I believe was extremely effective compared to anything else out there that was checklist based, and we'll get more into that later. So from running the chief of the behavioral analysis program, my last few years in the Bureau, I actually stepped down out of management from running the team, and I went back to the street because I was curious. All these things that I learned and did, were they effective? Were they not effective? Because I was strategizing at that 30,000-foot level. I was excited to get back and work with my local town and community here where I live in Virginia, where I have over 500 to 600 clear defense contractors where the insider threat was a real high priority to protect them, the information that they had, the programs they're working on, so they could protect not only national security but also the warfighter out in the field. So our robust program that we had, that we partnered with Defense Security Service and all the other three-letter agencies that help protect our companies and our infrastructure against these multiple attack vectors from countries and individuals that might not have our best interests at heart, was what I got to do in my last 5 years before I retired. And all that information gleaned together is what I'm going to share with you throughout the course of this training. So stand by. It's going to be a lot of information, but you'll be able to walk away with very tangible, actionable tools that's going to give you not only the ability to recognize and mitigate the insider threat, but even more importantly, you're going to do it through great leadership, because the benefits of doing an insider threat program focusing on leadership is not only just going to mitigate the potential for the insider threat, but it's also going to make a much, much healthier internal company culture because of how we're going to take care of those around us, how we're going to mitigate any issues in their personal life and their professional life, again, through recognizing behaviors, baselining individuals, and making sure that you're doing what I call one of the 3 ends goals of every human interaction. Is you want to make sure that you're an available resource for their success and prosperity without expectation or reciprocity. You're going to do that by, we're going to make sure that all these steps that we're doing is going to foster and enhance good, healthy professional relationships. And that all comes from having great open and honest communication and transparency. When you actually in place one of those 3 things and then group them together in that package of what I call ends goals, you will be well on your way to not only mitigating the insider threat, but creating a company culture both internally and externally that creates great loyalty, great brand recognition, both personally and professionally, and more importantly, it projects out to those that you encounter around you. So stand by. We're going to be doing this together and walking through it.